Dear viewers, wherever you are, hello and welcome to this new episode of your program, Out of the Box. As we see atrocities committed by war, killing, raping, ethnocide, genocide, ethnic cleansing, as these happen throughout history, always jumps to the surface the eternal question: where does the evil come from in the human world? Is it nature or is it nurture? Is the human hardwired to be evil, or is it the upbringing that makes humans evil? And if it's the upbringing or the nurture that makes humans evil, is this induced by religion, by philosophy, by nationalism, patriotism? Where is the source of this endless saga of destruction and atrocities? To shed more light on this eternal question, very important question, that might seem to be naive to some people, I'm really delighted to be accompanied by the writer and researcher, Issam Bayoumi. Issam, hello and welcome to the program.
Hi, Mohammed. Thank you very much for having me today.
It's a real pleasure having you as always. So, to start off, let me ask you this very straightforward, simple question. I just need a yes or no. Just take side A or B. Are humans born evil? Are they hardwired to be evil? Yes or no?
Can I just explain something first? I had a discussion with my professor when I was doing my master's about this specific question
Hmm.
that seems simple, but it's really very complicated, and it's one of the major questions in our life. But just for now, I would say I would go with a 50-50. It's hard to tell.
Okay, so you think it's a 50-50%.
Yeah.
50-50%. Okay. So, and would you say that the other 50% would come from nurture, upbringing, circumstances, like all these combined would create the other 50%?
I would say that uh, upbringing and nature is a major factor in making good and evil
Mm-hmm.
amongst people. Like especially like in the first uh, uh, part of the life of the person, like until I guess teenaging years,
Mm-hmm.
the upbringing is most important factor. After that, down the road, there might be other factors that affect his mentality, his thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginning, yeah, the upbringing is the major factor, like 70-80% maybe.
Okay. And throughout history, when people think about this question, there is usually a lot of finger pointing and stigmas about religion because religion makes everything extremely subjective. So, for example, like a land is promised to group A by religion A, while the same land is promised to group B by religion B. So the perpetrator might be the innocent victim, and vice versa. So is religion to blame, really?
Yeah, I would not say that religion is to blame, rather than religion is the the most important mover, or what makes people go in life. Religion is this thing, so it's we can't condemn religion completely, rather than we can complain the misuse of religion, if we can say. But religion is the most important thing that everything goes around in this life, I guess.
Okay, so if we look at religion here, and if we talk about the Abrahamic religions, and if the term may apply, because this is sort of a critical term nowadays, but we're referring to all religions that would claim that Abraham is the patriarch, is the father of all the different, Abrahamic religions, starting with Judaism and ending with Islam. Basically, there's a consensus about the creation, or the Genesis, the beginning, is from Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve living in the Garden of Eden or in heaven, and where would they fully enjoy all the incredible blessings over there, and they can, there's no limit. They are immortal, and there's suffering does not exist. There's only pleasure. There's ecstasy without any agony. But despite of all of these pleasures around them, Adam falls and he chooses to eat from the forbidden fruit and is cast out. Then later on, there's Cain and Abel, two children of Adam, and one of them kills the other. So one might ask here, so how is it that Adam, who saw God, lived with God, and lived in the hereafter, in the afterlife, lived in the metaphysical or spiritual part of life? So he didn't hear about it like other people, or it wasn't revealed to him through a revelation like prophets, but he was really living, and he had firsthand experience with this life. Yet, despite all that, he fell for the fruit. So his curiosity and his sort of incredible greed made him belittle all of these wonders and beauties in heaven and just choose to go for the fruit. On the other hand, Cain and Abel, the two children of Adam, they were raised by Adam and Eve, who, unlike any other parent, so if you tell your children about the afterlife, it's what you believe. You've never been there. But Adam and Eve have been there, and they were cast out, and so on. Despite all of this upbringing, this did not stop one brother from killing the other one because of envy. So how is it now that you're blaming me for just wanting a little bit of land or just a little bit more money? So what is money, and what is all the wealth is on this planet, or all the land on this planet, compared to the pleasures of paradise? So doesn't religion itself say that we're doomed? And if so, who's to blame here? Is it to blame us, or to blame this unjust God? He created us this way. So why should I be called evil if I'm just acting according to my nature?
Yeah. Like, this is another very complicated question. It's not, it looks simple, but it's not again. And like, if you look at this question from a religious background, like, you have to follow a specific set of mind that you have received through your religion. So it might be different from religion to religion. Okay. So, but generally speaking, from the point of view of religion itself, regardless of the kind of religion, like, religion is about instructions that you have received through a messenger, for example, or something like that. And you can't question religion. This is the problem. You can't question religion. Either you accept it or leave it, right? So according to this, there is specific wisdom behind the creation of human being on earth. Okay? So if the creator willed or wanted for you to be on this earth and have all these kinds of fighting and struggles, we can't question this. We can't even know the wisdom behind it. We can just go in life like this. But if you put this against the scientific idea behind creation of human beings on Earth, the answer might be a little bit different. Like it's hard to tell, because in this case, the scientific side, you would see good people and bad people. So it will be even more complicated. Like there is no like 100% correct answer for this. You can't know why there are good people and bad people, but the fact that we have both kinds of people on this earth, as we see every day, and we can't deny that the fact that there are really good people like angels sometimes. So it's hard to tell, it's hard.
So even if we talk about the scientific view about humans, according to Charles Darwin, so in his books, The Origin of Species or Species, and then his other book about the descent of humans and so on, he talks about that humans are part of the primates, and humans, like, he did not say that humans came from apes directly, but he said that apes and humans have a common ancestor. And this common ancestor was also savage and primitive. So again, whether religiously or scientifically speaking, humans are vulgar, religious, and brutal in every way possible. So it's just like a dead end. There's no way out. But on the other hand, one might argue here is that in the world, we have three different patterns of states. So there are religious states, and one of them might take the extreme form of religious state. So it can be a theocracy. So it is a country that is ruled really by clergy or men of religion, or a semi-religious state where like it is ruled supposedly by civilians, but the constitution is fully derived from scripture. Then we have another form of state, which is the secular state. And secular does not mean non-religious, but the religion does not play part in politics or in day-to-day life. And then there are non-religious or anti-religious states in the world. So some people might tell you actually that today, if you look at the world, you would definitely see that secular states and even non-religious states might be much better off than religious or semi-religious states in terms of democracy, human rights, freedom of expression, etc., 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 or even the welfare. And specifically, the secular states, maybe the non-religious states might still have major problems, but secular states are much better off. So isn't it much better just to throw religion behind your back and we all just become humans? And if you want to half-mast your flag for any atrocities or killings that might happen. Let's do this for human death and not just the death of my people. So religion would call for fanaticism or some form of really tribal fanaticism, while secularism calls for humanity.
Yeah.
How do you see this?
Yeah, okay. Like, let me start with stating that even without supporting the religion or not, but let me state that the problem is that religion, whether good or bad, has been manipulated and played with and used to instigate all kinds of struggle and drifts and conflicts we are seeing. And I can make another statement on my responsibility that there is no true religious state on earth, including the Vatican and Saudi Arabia, the so-called Saudi Arabia. There is no true religious state as per the word, like as real religious state. Every part is either playing with this religion for its interests or misunderstanding the religion. But there is no true, let's say at least there is no true application of any religion on earth in this moment, in this day and age, to the fullest. So this brings us to the origins of this. Why did we come to this point in history that we don't have actual application of any religion on earth? It all started long time ago, but specifically in one point in history, which culminated at what is called the religious wars of Europe, the 30-year religious wars that started in 1618 and ended in 1648 with what was called the Peace of Westphalia, that effectively ended the hegemony and the control of the Christian European church, the Roman Empire, over the politics in Europe. And from now, then, and after, religion has been removed from the official level of the state, and it was the end of religion, to be short, in Europe specifically. And those powers who came to realize their vigor and their hegemony in the world, that because they already at this point they started what was called explorations and finding the new world, the two Americas and the Australia and stuff like that, and they had a lot of power that they started from now then spreading even this annihilation of the idea of the religion. Of course, they couldn't apply this on the grassroots level. They started with the state level, and they started ever since on like removing the religion from the life of the peoples. And this what brought us to this moment now in 2023, that I can confirm that religion is not applied rightly in any country in the world, whatever they claimed that they are religious state. And this is the reason that you see this kind of troubles and the conflicts and struggles all over the place.
Just to shed a little bit light on what you mentioned historically about the Peace of Westphalia.
Yes.
So, like in Newton's laws, of motion, there is the very famous law about for every action, there is a reaction, equal in magnitude, but opposite in the direction. So basically, the Peace of Westphalia that followed the war came almost a century after the Reformation by Martin Luther. And he called, because there was incredible control of the Catholic Church on Europe at that time, the Inquisition, etc., etc., etc. And then there was this war between Holy Roman Empire allied with Spain and Austria, representing the Catholic world, versus France and Sweden, representing the Protestant world. And then there is this clash. So war, again, was induced by extreme control of religion. So religion is always the source of war. Even this war and Peace of Westphalia would assert again that, yes, religion is the source of all evil. Because religion always makes good and bad, right and wrong, extremely subjective, while humanity can make it objective. Because both parties fighting each other to death, everyone believes that when they die, they'll go to heaven. And they sincerely believe that. And their scripture tells them so. So which one is right, which one is wrong? And today, one party might be saying, they're the aggressors, the perpetrators, they kill us, they slaughter us, and the world is silent. Well, the other side might tell them, okay, you're crying now because I've been doing this for you for like 70 years or 70 something years. How about the same was done to me for over 10 centuries or more? I was burnt alive, I was put in gas chambers, I was slaughtered, I was skinned alive, and so on, and nobody moved, including yourself. So it's extremely subjective because of religion. And the problem is, it is divine scripture. So even if you and I disagree, we're still humans. But if I believe it, it's the divine will that I should kill you. So again, religion is the source of all evil. Somebody might argue.
I just to be sure and accurate again, we have to be accurate here. The religion itself is not the source of all evil. Mm-hmm. The manipulation of religion is the source of all evil. Like if you go back to the time of the religious wars in Europe, why did, in the first place, Martin Luther did what he did from rectifying or correcting the Catholic faith? Because he thought that the control of the Catholic Church was wrong. Out of them fighting science and burning scientists and everyone who thinks out of the superstitions of like something like tickets for Jannah or for heavens, stuff like that. I don't know the English name for the Skokal of Ran. So this was a manipulation of religion.
Indulgence box. These were the indulgence boxes. So yeah. Indulgence boxes, yeah, you can buy your way to heaven. I can buy my way to heaven. Yeah.
So this was manipulation or misinterpretation of religion. Same for Muslim faith. Why did it fall in Indonesia in the first place? Because they didn't apply their religion. There was a big manipulation of the religion. So to say that the religion is the source is not accurate, but I think more accurate to say the manipulation and misinterpretation of the religion is the source of all evils that we have now in this life.
But again, isn't this God extremely unjust again? Because who makes the interpretation? It's humans. Like for all religions, you know, like we knew about the God and about the scriptures through a revelation that was sent to a human, or even according to the Christian faith, God the Son was in the flesh. He was in the body of a human. Okay, so it never happened that God revealed himself directly. And so again, it's open, like the nature of religion itself is by humans. Like even we knew about religion through humans, so it's always open to interpretation. So it has its own, you know, like, the source of all controversy is deeply rooted within religion itself.
Yeah.
So again, this God is extremely unjust, you know, like I never choose my circumstances, so I never choose. So, according to Christianity, for God so loved the world, he sent his only begotten Son, and God is love. And then Muslims would always say that God is most gracious and most merciful, or most compassionate. But at the same time, this God will only save those who believe in faith A or B or C. So most people are like doomed. They will rot in hell. And because they were born in a place they did not choose, in a family they did not choose, in circumstances they did not choose, and they inherited a religion, which happens in 99.9% of the cases. Most people follow the religion of their ancestors. And then I'll be commended for something I did not exert any effort to do. And the other one will be punished, will be damned, will be reprimanded for something that they never were responsible for doing. It's extremely unjust. So it seems that this God enjoys tormenting us, torturing us, watching us kill one another in this absurd world.
We have to notice that if there is some people believe in religions, there are others that don't believe in anything, right? Atheists, for example, or non-believers completely. Okay? So the idea is that if you believe in religion, you will go some way with your mindset. If you don't believe in religion, it's a different way of thinking. But, for example, to answer your question, that evil is built in religion in the first place, I would say we can give examples from different religions through history that when the religion was applied the right way, it was going very well. And the people who followed that religion were doing well in life and were like superseding any other nations. But I believe the problem again is the manipulation of the ideas of religions specifically, and that as from a point of religious point of view, we know, like if a believer from one of the religions say, we know that there are those people who are fighting religion, and they, because of their fight to religion, they are distorting our ideas and other people's ideas. And this is the main reason of evil here, not the religion itself. Those people who, let's say, as I mentioned, after the Peace of Westphalia, there were powers that found in, let's say, capitalism, their solution for controlling the world. Okay, and from there they found that religion doesn't help a lot. They need people who don't believe in, because religion is like in religion calls for conservatism, for being down to earth, not showing off, and this doesn't help capitalism. Capitalism calls for extravaganza, of showing off with your new car, with changing your suit every day, with changing your.
But I'm sorry, but many people would argue that a lot of these religious states throughout history, and the rulers of these religious states throughout history, and many of the men of religion throughout history, from all religions, were among the richest and actually filthy rich people in the world, and they lived an extremely extravagant life. So they talk to you about being humble and meek. They would preach that, but on the other hand, they live an extremely extravagant life full of ecstasy. So who said that capitalism is the enemy of humility and meekness, and religion is pro humility and weakness? Actually, it's the opposite. If we look at the history of religious states, they were like religion was just used as an opium and to mesmerize and hypnotize the masses, while the rulers and the men of religion would exploit and suck the blood of these masses in the name of God.
Okay, nice point. But now you're talking about the the distorted religions in those states. Like like we are not talking about pure and true religious states. We are talking about states that claim that are religious. And we have examples, we don't want to name specific nations, okay? So, and this is the reason that they lose their power, their status in not only in their countries, but in the whole world. And this is an example, as I mentioned, from Andalusia. Andalusia was one of the greatest nations in history, but when they left their true religion, they lost everything, and they even they have been removed from life. Okay, so but capitalism is defined as the continuous collecting of wealth, non-stop collecting
Sorry,
of
you
wealth.
just mentioned an example that I cannot let go. So you
Okay.
I talked about Andalusia, Cordoba, Toledo, Granada, and all of these names that,
you can't call those religious states. They
beautiful.
lost their definition or
Fantastic.
their
Fantastic.
yeah.
Okay. So, control of, the Iberian Peninsula.
Yes.
So, Portugal, Spain, Andorra, southern France, and then
Pretty
control.
much same. It was under their rule.
Yes, and then control of Eastern, Southern Europe, the Balkans, and parts of the heart of Central Europe again by the Ottomans. So the Umayyads and the Ottomans, they controlled parts of Europe, of Christendom, and this history, whenever it's mentioned in front of any Muslim, it's music to their ears.
Yeah.
But on the other side, it is a brutal conquest. Spain is not an Arab Muslim, but it was controlled at the same time. But those Muslims would see any crusader or anybody who's Christian when they come to their land to do the same thing as invaders, and vice versa. North Africa, for instance, is non-Arab, originally non-Arab. The only Arabs lived in the Arabian Peninsula. But North Africa today, Middle East, the Levant as well, the Levant was not Arabic. But the Levant and North Africa today, they are all speaking in Arabic. They write in, and not only the language, but the traditions and so on. So same thing for Europe. Europe is not originally Latin. So whether Slavic Europe, whether it is, Romance Europe, Latino Europe, or Scandinavian Europe, Anglo-Saxon, Germanic Europe, Celtic and Gaelic Europe, all these are not Latin. But today they use Latin languages, very big effect of Latin again. But all this was good because it was in the name of God. And then there's a big fight over the city of Jerusalem, which originally did not belong to the Christians nor to the Muslims, but everyone claims that this is my land.
Yeah.
So isn't this just absurd, and isn't just a recipe for eternal war and destruction?
May I surprise you if I tell you that the struggle over Jerusalem is not the real struggle in this life, and it's not religious at all? Like, as I said, religion in the first place is the biggest mover or steering rod of events in the whole world, in the whole history, okay? But the manipulation of religion is the real reason behind the struggle and conflicts. Like, when you say that, when you point at the struggle over Jerusalem, for example, I 100% assure you it's not about religion. It's about control and maximizing the benefits. And like, if we go back to the idea of the after the new, it's not new, of course, now the current world system, okay, that's ruling the world now, that have been produced out of the Peace Westphalia treaties, okay, this system is still controlling the world and controlling it to the benefits, the interests, not to the religion. Because as I said, they worked on killing, they already killed the religion right away on the level of the state and worked on killing the religion on the grassroots level after that. And they did that all over the world, wherever their control reached, they did that. And they succeeded to a big extent to remove the idea of religion and distort it. And this is what we have to differentiate between following a religion and being religious truthfully. Okay? So I assume, I state that most, like 90% at least, of those people who claim to be following any religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity or whatever, they don't really know what is this religion called for or necessitates on them to do. So, again, just to round up, I believe that the conflict or the struggle over Jerusalem is not religious at all. It's just the religion slogans are used to manipulate people.
Okay, can we say that religion is invincible, really? Because tribal fanaticism or religious fanaticism, somebody might argue, although in the West, for example, we have secular states, and religion is not officially like, the source of the Constitution or the source of any legislation. And most life is secular, separation of religion and state and whatnot. But religion is always there in disguise. We still have a lot of flags of Western countries that have the cross on them. The monarch of many Western states is the head of church as well. And coronation ceremonies are done in a church or in an abbey or in so on and so forth. So is there no getting rid of religion? Is it completely impossible to really have a truly secular life? And maybe if we have a truly secular life, this can be the way out.
You just drew my attention to a misuse of even the word secular state. What is a secular state? This definition is also very, very problematic. But just to stay with your question, I would answer first that there is no hope for religions to win in this life. Because if you follow the movement of history, ever since this current world system that we are living under now, have religion been on the rise or going down ever since? I would assume it was going down. As I said, I think I don't know. I can mention now that according to the United Nations Book of Religion that was issued around the year 2000, the map of distributing religions around the world, Europe and North America were pointed as atheists, 90%.
Okay, so religion might be falling on the, in terms of rituals and in terms of the spiritual side of it.
Yeah.
But do you think that that is also falling in terms of fanaticism, in terms of bias in terms of taking sides? So we see a lot of Muslims, Christians, and Jews and whatnot, or Hindus or Buddhists, etc., who do not perform any rituals, do not go to the mosque, temple, synagogue, church, never. They don't, they hardly talk about religion, and they the way they dress, the way they eat, and so on. But whenever there's a conflict between religion A and religion B, they tend to take the side of people from this religion, although they're non-religious or irreligious people.
Yeah.
So do you think that religion might be, like you're saying, is dying in terms of spiritual and the rituals part, but it's actually rising in terms of fanaticism? We see more with today, we no longer have, with the exception of very, very few minorities, states that are ruled by a theocracy. We do have states that are ruled by men of religion, but they are like an obvious minority and an anomaly, really, compared to the world today. But fanaticism is really high.
Yeah. And I believe, yeah, I agree with you. But this is also a product of manipulation of religion. We can say that religion, in its best scenarios, is like a sleeping giant. And when those people who are controlling the world system now, with the huge technology of media outlets and even social media now, they can wake up this giant, but in the wrong way. Like they manipulate those people who think that they are religious. They are religious by name, whether in the West or the East, whether in the North or the South. Like I didn't finish my sentence about the distribution of religions in the world. I believe as it is in the North and the West that it's 90% atheists. It's also maybe 90% or more that people don't know the religion. They are just religious by name. Okay, so it's very easy for those elites or those powers who control the world. Let's say call them the capitalists, for example, to move them the way they like a sleeping giant, with just a rumor, with just like any type of fake call, to make them move in the direction they want with the media, the new media.
Very good. But to be just here and to try as much as possible, of course, to be objective, are those capitalist countries the most civilized? And aren't people living in the capitalist countries the ones who enjoy the maximum amount of welfare in the world, the most free people in the world? Isn't the average citizen in a capitalist country living by far much better than the average citizen in non-capitalist countries? That's number one. Number two, isn't the average status of women in capitalist countries is by far much better than the average status of women in non-capitalist countries? Again, we're in the capitalist countries, the first countries to officially end slavery that still existed in all theocracies. And so what do you have to say to that?
I would argue that not anymore. This might have been correct to some degree, like maybe 20 years ago, or specifically before September 11th, 2001.
Okay.
I would have agreed to some extent, not even fully. But after September 11th, the freedoms, even in the West, the so-called West, which includes Europe, of course, and North America and Australia, have declined gravely. And it was killed completely after the Corona thing. Okay? So don't talk to me about freedoms and the status and that, and about the women. This also might have been like acceptable a little bit before those events like September 11th and whatever followed of confiscating people freedoms and spying on their phones and bank accounts and stuff like that. And the Corona was them like imprisoned in their houses and wearing masks against their will. Slavery has new meanings. We have new slavery, and there have been many writings and many literature out there talking about the new slavery in the world, starting from even early in the 20th century and specifically now in the 21st century. And what's coming is worse, they say. You can't talk about free world and unslaved people in the West and slaved people in the East or in the South. Okay. It's the same almost now.
So I see where you're going here. So like there's attack of privacy. Humans are just becoming gears in the big capitalist machine that would not stop, and if one of the gears would stop, it will get crushed completely. People are just working, to make ends meet. Most people are just working hand to mouth. They can hardly survive on one knot. So there's been a great deterioration. Things have fallen from the peak where they were. But the flip of it, on the other hand, actually, on the non-capitalist world, things have fallen much more than they were again. So the difference is still there. Yes, the West was on the top, was 100. Now it is 70. But the rest of the world was 40. Now it's 10. So still, the capitalist and the so-called secular states are still by far much better off. They're not ideal anymore. There is a lot of, there's a great setback. Okay, there's a lot of regression happening, but not alone. Still, the difference is obvious.
And if you look thoroughly or carefully into the picture, you would notice that this might even be part of the game, like keeping like North America or Europe or the West, the so-called West, a little bit better than the rest of the world is part of the game, to convince or to persuade people or to play the game on the people.
Sorry, can we really say a little bit, just a little bit better, or much better?
Yeah, as I said, 20 years ago, yes, the gap was bigger, but now in this day and age, the gap is going little and little and little. Okay, it's minimizing. The difference is minimizing a lot. Okay, if you look into the everyday life of people in North America, to the women who work for like cashiers and stuff like that, they are struggling to live. How many homeless people in the streets of Canada and North America and Europe that as we saw them, even from the 90s, when I went to Europe, there were homeless people in the streets. Now, homeless people are on the rise by the tens. Every day, if you go, every corner in the streets have homeless people. So don't tell me that the gap is still big. No, I think with the whole poverty in the East or the South, many people might be living better than many people here in the West. So this idea is
percentage wise, with the exception of the oil-rich states, the status of the average citizen, I would argue, maybe I'm wrong, but is by far 100 times better in the West than in the rest of the world.
Trust me, it's because I have been here. Like I reached all the levels. I reached ministers in government, managers. I met with lawyers, doctors, scientists, and even low people and poor people.
Okay.
But now, what we can notice and make this to everyone to know, from our day-to-day seeings, that the poverty in the West is on the rise by the day. And I know some people.
And in the rest of the world, too.
I didn't deny it. I didn't deny it.
By far. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Still.
If people in Africa, for example, or Asia, they work 2-3 jobs to make ends meet, it's the same here in our countries, okay, in North America. And people go in the streets every day because they can't pay the rent or pay the bills. Excuse me.
Yeah, but on one hand, you send your child. Okay, very good. But on one hand, you send your child to a class that, worst case scenario, would have 30 students. The other one would send his son or daughter to a class that has 120 students in extremely atrocious conditions of schools and hospitals. And while the other one, you'd send them to a class that had 30 students maximum and is very decent conditions too. So it would be extremely unfair to compare the two.
Okay, sorry for interrupting, but I would raise a very important point here. You just drew my attention to it. Just talking about religion against secularism, for example, or religion and non-religion. And the other side would claim that being without religion is better for humanity. Okay. You mentioned the case of classes in the third world, for example, or the poor world, having 100 people, students in class, and as against here 20 or 30. Okay. But why are more people, regardless of being religious or not, are taking their kids out of the schools here in North America and in Europe for some extent? Because the products of this civilization that doesn't have religion didn't go well with them. Because the products of this civilization that's irreligious, non-religious, brought them homosexuality and other ethical stuff that's not acceptable for human beings, normal, not regardless of being religious or not. So
this is a very big can of worms here. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's a very big can of worms here because again, many people would argue, no, this is induced by religion. Even if I'm not religious, I have religious heritage from my parents. I was hardwired that if you are not heterosexual, you are evil, even if it does not come from religion today, but it originated in religion. Now, getting back to the basic and the core question here.
Yes.
To come to a conclusion, if we may. So, is there no way out where we can have a feeling for humans, just humans? Is there no way out where I can really love for you what I love for myself? You know, where I would not condemn you before I condemn myself? Is there any way for that, or is this just wishful thinking? And there will never, ever be a way out of this endless crisis and dilemma that humanity is living?
Yeah, nice question. But before I answer this question, let me finish the other sentence, that there is a big movement of opposite migration from the so-called advanced world, civilized world, back to the non-civilized world, which is Africa and Asia, for example. Okay, so, but to answer your question,
yes,
you want to say something?
I'm sorry, I can't just let this go. I'm sorry. For everyone who wants to go from the west to the east, there's at least 10,000 people who want to go from the east to the west. Yes.
Not anymore.
There is no. Just go to the eastern and third world countries and just ask a random group of people. Most people would die to go to the west.
I go in chat rooms in English and Arabic, where when people ask about immigration, for example, to North America or Europe, the answer is staying at where you are. Many answers that exist. And we see this by our eyes every day.
And we see the others with our eyes too. So I totally respect what you're saying.
Really clear for now, but it will be clearer down the road. But to answer your question, I believe there is no hope for the struggles in the lives of our humanity to stop. It will be the same until the end of life, I guess, on Earth. Because it's the idea of if there is some religious people, there are some not religious people, and they will stay in conflict until the end. To be short.
I really can't thank you enough for this great brainstorming that we had together, and it's always a delight having you. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, dear viewers, of course, as usual, in every episode, my role here is not to represent my personal point of view, but I'm always, like, I wouldn't say the devil's advocate, but I'm the advocate of the opposition, whatever that opposition might be. But throughout history, we've seen incredible amount of bloodshed, of raping, of exploitation, of enslavement, whether direct or indirect, and then always the scapegoat would be religion or would be patriotism, or would be, ethnism, or whatever. But I think it's about time, really, for us to reconsider the term humanity. And it's always said that if we consider that the Earth or the universe to be 100 years old, then humans came on the very last second of these 100 years. But during this extremely, extremely short time that we've lived on this earth, we've caused more destruction than any other creature that walked on this earth. So, but yet, we still are extremely proud, and we call ourselves to be the masters of the universe or the masters of the earth, and we look down upon all other creatures as our subordinates. Yet none of these creatures have ever caused so much bloodshed and atrocities and destruction. I think it's about time for us to really earn the term humanity, if we really think that we are the superior ones, or bite the bullet and face the bitter truth that we're not who we think we are. Dear viewers, until we meet again, I hope you all live in peace and harmony. Thanks for watching.